My name is Eliza, and I have always tried to be responsible in the family. At 28, I have built a decent career, live in a nice rented apartment, and are used to making smart decisions. Everything in my life is orderly and logical, as it should be in someone who is used to relying only on himself. My younger sister, Lucia, who is only 2 years younger, is completely different. We have been different since childhood, so much so that sometimes it seemed to me that we grew up in different families. She is impetuous, emotional, in love with life and with herself. It always seemed to me that she was not just going through life, but dancing, letting the waves of circumstances take her everywhere. Being a big sister is not an easy burden. I knew this from early childhood, when my parents asked me to be an example, pointing out that my success was a fact, while every little thing Lucia did was a delight. When I was in high school and taking home great grades, they said it had to be like that. But when Lucia caught fire with the idea of raising bees in her grandmother's garden, her parents gave her a real holiday. At 16, I settled in a cafe, wishing to feel financial independence. But instead of pride, I heard reproaches. You spend too much time working, but what about studies? And Lucia spent summers by the pool thoughtlessly flipping through magazines, and somehow it was considered a well-deserved vacation. As the 30 matrimonial wedding anniversary of our parents approached, I thought for a long time what could have been a worthy gift. Mom always had a dream, a trip to Italy. He loved watching Italian cooking programs while trying to repeat recipes and spoke admiringly about architecture, culture, people. His father, although less emotional, always supported his passions. So I decided to give them a trip, a fully paid tour to Italy with accommodation in a luxury hotel, excursions, and dinners in real Italian restaurants. I was finishing my booking when the phone rang. "Hello, little sister," Lucia sang with her sugary voice. I was immediately wary. He always said it when he wanted something. "So what will you give Mom and Dad for your anniversary?" I stopped for a moment, but decided to be honest. He arranged a trip to Italy. They always dreamed of going there. On the other side there was laughter. "Oh, Eliza, you're so predictable. I knew you'd pick something boring." I gritted my teeth, but tried to maintain a neutral tone. "What do you give him?" "It's a surprise, but believe me, they will like it more than your Italy," she declared smugly and hung up. I just shook my head. He was so similar to Lucia, always putting on a show, always putting himself in the spotlight. He knew how to charm people, but often there was nothing really valuable behind his strong gestures. The anniversary day has come. I packed the tickets in a beautiful box with extreme care, tied it with a ribbon, and went to the restaurant where the celebration took place. When I entered, life was already boiling in the hall. Relatives, friends, everyone was talking briskly. Lucia, fluttering around the hall like a hyperactive butterfly, gave instructions to the waiters, although my mother had already thought through everything to the smallest detail. I rolled my eyes, but remained silent. It was in his spirit to pretend to keep everything under control. The time for gifts came quickly. Friends and relatives, one after another, handed gifts to parents, said warm words. Mom and Dad shone with happiness. Mom even had tears. When it was my turn, I got up, ready to give a speech, but then Lucia jumped from her seat and exclaimed theatrically, "Everyone, please, look at the road." The guests turned to the windows, and so did I. At that moment, I realized exactly what my sister had invented. On the road was a new red Audi with a huge bow on the roof. Everything changed to me when Lucia made her big statement. "Mom, Dad," his ringing voice rang out in a suddenly silent restaurant, "you deserve nothing but the best." He stretched out his arms as if blessing those present, and then spectacularly pointed to a sparkling car on the street. "This is my gift for you." The crowd gasped. There were cheers, someone even whistled with admiration. I saw my mother cover her mouth with her palm, her eyes shone with tears. Dad slowly shook his head, as if he did not believe what was happening. "Oh, honey," Mom sobbed, hugging Lucia. "It's unbelievable. We can't believe you did that." A buzz of approval spread among the guests, and almost everyone immediately rushed to the exit to take a picture with the car. I stood at the door, feeling my fingers clutching the tiny ticket box. The longer I stood there, the less I felt. A few long minutes passed before the guests began to return to the hall. I procured, gathering with spirit, and I took a step forward. I also have something for you." My voice sounded voiceless, but still I reached out, giving Mom and Dad a gift. They took the box, but were in no hurry to open it. Lucia crossed her arms on her chest, smiling victoriously. "See," muttered Dad, taking off the tape. The lid came off. Inside were 2 tickets. Just for a second, I noticed a slight stupor in their eyes. "Oh," stretched Mom. "This." "I traveled to Italy," I said quickly, trying to make the voice sound. "You've always dreamed of going there." "Ah, thank you, Eliza," Dad patted me on the back, but his voice didn't have the warmth that sounded when he thanked Lucia. "Well, my gift was obviously more expensive," the sister loudly announced. "And more useful. Car versus travel? Not even compare." Some people giggled. I squeezed my lips, expecting one of the parents to make a remark to her for being rude. But instead, they simply smiled and suggested that everyone continue dinner. For the rest of the evening, I listened enthusiastically to their discussion of Lucia's generosity. It has been repeated over and over again how fantastic she is, how caring. And I sat down, driving the food on the plate with a fork, unable to swallow a piece. After an hour, I could not stand it anymore. "I'm going to work early tomorrow," I muttered as I walked up. No one even noticed that I was gone. It's been 2 weeks. I tried to forget everything, going headlong into work. I took up additional projects, stayed in the office late, just not to think about how much it hurt. But even work could not completely distract me from the weight sitting inside. And then, on Tuesday afternoon, an email appeared in my work inbox. Sender, Lucia. Subject, the bill for Audi. I froze. The palms were sweating instantly. With bated breath, I opened the attachment and the cold crossed the spine. $60,000. The cost of the car he gave to his parents. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe he didn't send me the bill. But deep down, I knew this as Lucia. He did it intentionally. My hands shook as I dialed his number. "Hello, little sister." He answered instantly, as if waiting for my call. "What's going on?" I said, trying to keep my voice flat, but inside me the anger was already bubbling. Her voice was light, almost carefree. "Yes, I took the car on credit, and I do not have the money to pay for it." "Then, you have to deal with it." I almost dropped the phone. "Are you serious? You bought a car you couldn't afford, did a show, and now you want me to pay for it?" "Well, yes, you got it right," she replied calmly. I felt anger flooding my head. "You walked around the restaurant like a queen, put me in the most pathetic light, and now you decided to throw this debt off me?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic," Eliza. Her voice took on that particular condescending tone that I had known since I was little. "It's just money. You have a good job, you can afford it." "No," I said firmly. "Absolutely not. These are your problems, Lucia. Deal with them yourself." I turned off the call without even letting it answer. The phone rang instantly. From time to time, every minute. When I didn't answer the phone, the messages started coming in. "You are so selfish. I can't believe you're doing this to your sister. Please, Eliza, I beg you." The bank breathes in the back of my head. "You've always envied me, haven't you? Mom and Dad will be so disappointed in you. I turned off the phone and gritted my teeth trying to concentrate on work. But it was impossible. When I left the office that evening, I had more than 50 missed calls and almost 100 messages from Lucia. He wrote non-stop pleading, blaming, invoking familiar feelings, pleading again. I did not read everything, I just leafed through the stream of messages, seeing individual phrases. You're the only one who can help. I am desperate. Mom and Dad are disappointed in you. You're jealous of me, huh? But the real surprise was not waiting for me on the phone. As soon as I got home, I saw her. Lucia sat on the steps near my entrance, curled up in a thin coat, with mascara smeared on her cheeks. Hair is disheveled, knees pulled to the chest. He jumped up as soon as he saw me and again his eyes filled with tears. Finally, she sobbed. I've been waiting here for 2 hours. How could you ignore me like that? I silently headed for the door, hoping to pass, but Lucia rushed forward and grabbed my hand. Eliza, please. You have to help me. His fingers grabbed me with unexpected force. The bank requires the first installment, but I do not have it. I don't have it. I looked at her. To these tears, to the trembling lips, to the despair in the voice. I would have felt sorry for myself before. I would have given in to his demands. But this time nothing. Maybe you should have thought about it before buying a car that you can't afford, I said quietly, tearing my hand. He swallowed. Have you ever thought about payments when you flaunted at the restaurant? Lucia sobbed louder and then covered her face with her hands, bursting into tears. But for the first time, her tears did not touch me. I've seen this performance too many times. Instead of standing here crying, you should figure out how to pay for the car you bought, I said coldly. He looked down at me and for a moment it seemed that tears had been replaced by anger. But the next second, she turned sharply and fled, her heels pounding the pavement. She sighed and I finally entered the building, but I knew it was not over. Even close. The next day, as I was finishing work, my phone rang again. This time it was Mom. Eliza, her voice was still. We need to talk seriously. Come home after work. I already guessed what it is. And yet I went. When I entered my parents' house, a scene I saw 1,000 times unfolded in front of me. Mom and Dad sat in their usual places in the living room, looking serious. And among them is Lucia. Confused, small, with red eyes, in a perfectly chosen victim role. Your sister told us everything, said the father with a weight in his voice. We don't understand why you refuse to help her. I looked at him, then my mother, then Lucia. Their faces, so familiar, suddenly seemed foreign to me. Really? My voice was low, but still. Lucia buys a car she can't afford. It makes a great show to give it to you. And now I'm bad because I don't want to pay her. Family helps the family, Mom interrupted, as if quoting a truth beyond question. I laughed. Does the family help the family? Then why, when I needed support, there was never one? Why, when I was working since I was 16, did you say I wasn't learning enough? Why was it taken for granted when I was successful? Don't overdo it, the father interjected, shaking his head. Aren't you exaggerating? I turned sharply to Lucia. You knew you couldn't pay for the car, did you? Luca. The bank keeps calling me, he whispered. They want the first installment now. It happens when you take a loan, I noted dryly. Mom suddenly got up from her seat, went to her bag, took out something and handed it to me. I looked down. They were tickets to Italy. My gift. We don't want gifts from someone who could be so cruel to his sister, he said coldly. Cancel everything and return the money to us. Give them to Lucia so she can pay for the car. I fixed the tickets in my hands. Then, do you refuse my gift? what I'd been planning for months. Which I chose because I knew how much my mother wanted to see Italy. Yes, calmly confirmed the father. Until you make the right choice and help your sister. Something deep inside me broke. I heard the words come to my throat: arguments, explanations, attempts to make them understand. A familiar impulse to argue, defend yourself, prove yourself right. But suddenly I realized the truth. No word will change your mind. Maybe they'll never change. So instead of arguing, I just got up. I neatly put the tickets in my bag and took one last look at my family. Mom and Dad were sitting there waiting for me to break and accept their requests. Lucia looked at me with that smug look that I had known since childhood. She was sure she won again. "I'll take care of the tickets," I said quietly. My voice did not betray a drop of those emotions bubbling in me, nor a hint of a plan that was already forming in my head. "Well," said the mother, clearly pleased. "Let us know when you receive your refund." I nodded silently and left the house. As I walked home that evening, the details of what I was going to do were already working in my head. They thought they knew me. Eliza, predictable and reliable, who always does the right thing, always takes responsibility, always does what is expected of her. They're about to find out how wrong they were. Back in my apartment, I sat down at the kitchen table. In front of me were tickets to Italy and thoughts swirled in my head. Until 3 in the morning, I looked at them, thinking about how much time I had spent preparing this trip. I chose the best hotels, searched dozens of options to find a room with a view of the Colosseum. I organized private excursions, cooking classes in Florence, wine tastings in Tuscany. I even found a guide who could show parents corners of Italy that not even experienced tourists knew. It was supposed to be a mom's dream come true. Now it will be different. When the sun rose, I did not close my eyes, but my mind was crystal clear. I called the travel agency as soon as they opened. "Hello. I have to cancel my tour in Italy." "Naturally. Want to move it to another date or?" "No. Cancel completely. All flights, hotels, excursions. All." The agent turned out to be sympathetic. Everything was resolved quickly. Within 1 hour I received confirmation that the full refund will be credited to my account within a few business days. Once the money arrived, I transferred it to a separate savings account. It won't take a penny to pay for Lucia's car. I was making coffee when the phone rang. Mom's name appeared on the screen. "Did you get your refund?" His voice was cold, without unnecessary prefaces. I slowly took a sip of coffee before answering. "You." I deleted everything. "Well. Transfer the money to me now. Lucia must make the first payment by Friday." "No." The silence on the other side was deafening. "What did you just say?" My mother's voice became low, threatening, as I remembered it from childhood. "I said no. I won't give you money." "How dare you?" It exploded. "You are a selfish and greedy girl. After all we've done for you. Your sister is drowning in debt and you're sitting there counting the money like some kind of miser." "Lucia herself decided to buy a car that she could not afford," I said calmly. "You're irresponsible. You're heartless. You always envied your sister. I can't believe I raised such a selfish child." I finished the conversation halfway through his tirade. And then he blocked his number. And Lucia's number just in case. The next morning I woke up to explosions of social media notifications. The heart beat deaf in the chest when I saw that it was. Mom posted a long post on Facebook. "I have to share what is destroying my family." My eldest daughter Eliza showed her true colors when her beloved sister Lucia found herself in difficult circumstances and needed help. Eliza turned her back on the family. Save while watching his sister suffer, I never thought I'd have to do something like this in public, but I'm desperate. My youngest daughter faces these difficulties, and her sister refuses to help. Please pray for Lucia in this difficult time. And pray that Eliza's heart will soften. I stared at the screen. There were already dozens of comments under the post. What a nightmare. How can you leave your family? Lucia is an angel and Eliza has always been cold. Eliza should support her sister, do not turn her back. I read them one by one, feeling my blood pressure rise higher and higher with each word. The story that Mom created was expertly constructed. The poor and unfortunate Lucia is a victim of circumstances, while I, a heartless villain, have accumulated my wealth in cold blood watching her suffer. And that's when something in me broke. The years I was a family scapegoat. Years when Lucia was allowed everything and I was also criticized for looking bad. Years when I was forced to be responsible, exemplary, reliable, and my sister did everything she wanted with impunity. All this has reached its peak. I opened the laptop and started typing. Once my mother decided to bring the family's personal affairs to the public, let me share the full story she conveniently omitted from her post. I described everything in detail. To celebrate the 30th anniversary of my parents' wedding, I gave them a fully paid luxury trip to Italy, a country my mother had dreamed of all her life. My sister Lucia arrived at the restaurant in a new Audi, making a great show, presenting it as a gift. But here's what no one knew: he bought it on credit without being able to pay. 2 weeks later, he asked me to pay the car bill, $60,000. Yes, you read that right. He wanted me to pay for his gift. When I refused, my parents sided with her. They returned my gift to me and asked me to return the money and give it to Lucia to pay for her car. She bought a car just to show off, to outshine me on an important day for parents, and now I found myself cruel just because I don't want to be responsible for her actions. Asterisk. I didn't just say my version. I supported her with the facts. I attached screenshots of everything. Email Lucia with a $60,000 car bill. Your messages asked me to pay you. His threats when I refused. Messages to parents asking for a refund. Mom's voicemail calling me selfish and irresponsible. A complete track of manipulation and emotional blackmail. I clicked publish. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The wave of public opinion changed so quickly that I had a mental whiplash. Oh my God, did he buy a car he couldn't afford just to show it to his sister? What kind of person asks the sister to pay for their gift to someone else? Those poor parents, my foot. They're using that spoiled child. Eliza, dear, I am so sorry that we jumped to conclusions. Your sister needs professional help. I can't believe your parents returned your thoughtful gift to you, just to allow your sister to continue the irresponsible behavior. And then the bomb. 20 minutes after the publication, my Aunt Narina, my mother's best friend since college, left a comment. Mary, I love you, but it's shameful behavior. You always allowed Lucia to get away with it, while Eliza demanded impossible standards. I've been biting my tongue for years, but not anymore. It was a turning point. Comments continued to pour in one after another, more and more supportive than the previous one. People began to share their stories of toxic families, spoiled siblings, unjust parents. My post was injured live. 15 minutes later, Mom's original post disappeared. I wasn't even surprised. But then I got a message from an unknown number. How dare you carry our dirty laundry in public? I laughed. And he blocked this number too. Over the next few weeks, the family split into two camps. Some relatives sided with their parents and Lucia, convinced that I had been cruel. But most have finally seen the truth. My cousin called me and, with difficulty holding back the laughter, told me that there was a serious discussion in our family group chat. Uncle Robert was literally screaming in caps lock, he said. And Aunt Linda wrote that she no longer wanted to deal with your parents. Really? They're crazy, Eliza. Especially after you post the evidence. They are used to checking history, and now it's late. I listened to her and felt something long twisted straighten inside. I no longer tried to prove that I was worthy of love. I no longer tried to earn the respect of those who did not give it. I let them go. And, for the first time in a long time, I felt free. But the most interesting news came from my Uncle Jay. You know, he said during one of our weekly phone calls, your parents were forced into their retirement savings to cover payments for Lucia's car. I silently digested what I said. They tried to return it to the dealer, but there didn't seem to be a refund clause in the contract your sister signed, he continued. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. That was it, like you. Your father withdrew $30,000 from his pension fund, on clique. They are trying to keep it hidden, but it seems that they had to pay considerable fines for early withdrawals. Mom is furious, but here's the problem, Eliza, she paused dramatically. They blame you anyway. I chuckled, but there wasn't a bit of fun in that sound. Of course, the fault, I said, feeling strangely detached from all this. And how does Lucia handle the situation? Oh, play the victim card with all his might, sighed Jay. She keeps telling everyone how traumatized she is by your betrayal. How he never thought his sister would destroy the family. And does anyone believe that? Fewer and fewer people, he chuckled. Your post opened the eyes of many. The consequences were not limited only to our family. The carefully cultivated image of Lucy. Some of his friends reached out to me privately. Jay, it turns out that he has a whole history of similar, generous gestures that end with someone else paying the bill. Like? Remember your college roommate, Sarah? I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Last year he arranged a big surprise party for her, rented a whole restaurant, ordered expensive champagne, invited live music, all at the highest level. And then, 2 weeks later, he started to insinuate that because it was Sarah's party, that should help pay for it. And Sarah paid? You. She says she felt guilty because Lucia complained about how it affected her finances. I closed my eyes and shook my head. I thought I was the only one who used it that way. Oh, no, honey, snorted Ak. He didn't just do it to you. Meanwhile, my parents had their share of reality. Their friends, who for years have seen them favor Lucia and criticize me, have finally started talking. A friend of Mom's since high school, Romola, confronted her at their weekly bridge game. Your mother tried to defend herself, on clique. She said that they simply helped Lucia more because she needed it, and you have always been so independent. I snorted. What did Romola say? She asked me if it occurred to your parents that maybe you had to become independent because they were too busy helping Lucia to help you. I was silent. Part of me was glad that the truth had finally come out. But the other side just felt tired. That family drama, those attempts to convince someone, prove a point, none of it mattered anymore. I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to live my life. The most unexpected development occurred and my younger cousin called me. Hello, Eliza. Her voice trembled as if nervous. Hi, Lily, is everything okay? Yeah. I just wanted to thank you. For what? For confronting them. I straightened up in the chair. I've seen Aunt Martrater and Uncle Jay, and I always thought that I should be more like Lucia. You know, strong, bright, eye-catching. I didn't say anything, letting her go. But when I saw you defending yourself, I realized that it's okay to be responsible. It is normal to set boundaries. He breathed deeply. Mom says you're her new hero now. I couldn't hold back the smile. As the family drama unfolded in the background, I focused on my life. Every night after work, I browsed through travel sites, researched itineraries, matched hotels, read reviews. I was building a travel plan that was just for me. Not to please anyone. Not to prove something to someone. But only because I wanted it. I decided to mix cultural exploration and adventure, starting from Mexico Moderna, a city where history breathes in every alley, where priceless treasures of ancient civilizations and modern art are preserved. I wanted to see the grandiose National Museum of Anthropology, get lost in the alleys of Cu. The Oaxaca is a mecca for lovers of gastronomy, capital of rich flavors and ancient recipes. I imagined walking around the bustling market of Beneto. Next, Tulum was waiting for me with its turquoise waters. Moreover, and I had already seen myself floating in transparent underground caves, feeling the coolness of the water on my skin, listening to the drops echoing against the stone vaults. And finally, Chichen Itza is one of the 7 wonders of the world. I wanted to walk along the shady paths among the ruins, touch an ancient stone and feel the breath of a bygone era. I booked cooking classes, photo tours, some snorkeling lessons. All the things I always wanted to do, but I put off. All my life I have tried to be responsible. Now is the time to be yourself. The day before departure, I received a thick envelope in the mail. I opened it without even knowing what to expect and froze for a second. Inside was a postcard signed by more than 20 relatives, including Rose's grandmother. They wished me an amazing trip by attaching old family photos to the letter. Photos I've never seen before. I examined them, feeling a strange warmth in my chest. Here I am, a 5-year-old girl, proudly showing off the first liver cake I baked while my grandmother laughs in the background. Here I am at school, bright-eyed, holding a diploma for academic achievements. Here I am in my teens, helping Uncle Zio. Moments my parents overlooked while focusing on Lucia. Aunt Narina left a note. We should have spoken earlier, but now we are so proud of you. I neatly packed the photos in a suitcase along with my new camera and hiking boots. And for the first time in a long time, I felt that in my family there were those who really saw me. In the evening, shortly before departure, the phone rang. I looked at the screen, an unknown number. He hesitated for a second, but answered anyway. Eliza. I would recognize that voice anywhere. Mom. I didn't say anything, letting her speak first. I heard you're going to Mexico. Yes, I replied in a neutral tone. Tomorrow. A long pause. Me and your father, we talked. All this with Lucia and the car, it opened our eyes to some things. I wasn't moving, I wasn't breathing. We have her go to a financial advisor, she continued. And I know it's too late, but I'm sorry. Too bad you thought so much about that gift and we just threw it in your face. I expected to feel something strong, anger, relief, warmth. But inside there was only calm. Yes, I said quietly. Pause again. Have a good trip, Eliza. Her voice sounded somewhat different. Like older, quieter. Be careful. And maybe, when you get back, we could have a coffee. Just us. I thought for a moment. Maybe, I said. I'll let you know when I get back. After hanging up, I sat on my packed suitcase and took a deep breath. It was not a pardon. Not yet. But it was something. A crack in the wall. Possibility of change. What would come of it still had to be seen. The next morning, my plane took off to Mexico. I looked through the porthole, looking at the clouds streaming along the horizon, and thought how things had turned out differently than I had planned. I wanted to give my parents their dream of traveling to Italy. And finally he embarked on his dream trip to Mexico. I tried to keep the peace in the family. And in the end it was the cause of the biggest shock in its history. I'd been reliable, predictable all my life. And, finally, he did something completely unexpected. My phone vibrated from the message. He was a cousin. Have fun. I can't wait to hear it all. And then the second message. As you like it, yesterday Lucia was taken a car. Karma is real. I smiled. And I turned off the phone. Lucia's drama. Parental problems. Family difficulties. All this could wait. The next 2 weeks belonged only to me. I needed to study the ancient ruins. Explore the beaches. Try new foods. Photograph colorful street markets and golden sunsets. For the first time in my life, I put myself first. And it seemed absolutely right. What do you think of this story, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. See you soon.